Well, hello there. This is Nancy Lohr, and my channel is Reselling into Retirement. And my channel is about people who are in the reselling world, who are 55 and older, who are either moving into retirement or they're retired already and they've decided to choose reselling as a vehicle that they want to spend some time in. And we're going to hear about their trials and tribulations and successes too. And today, my guest is Sally, and Sally has been reselling for a while. And I met Sally in the Reseller Nirvana group that I am in, and I've got to say, I am very happy and delighted to have her as my guest. And she's going to enlighten us on how she does in the reselling world and some of the things that she's experiencing. And she also has a YouTube channel that we're going to talk about. So, welcome, Sally.
Well, welcome. I'm so thinking about, you said people at 55. I'm 75. 55 is so far
And older.
here. Yeah. And older was the saving rate say. I'm doing great. I'm really happy to be here. And I mentioned to you before, I love your ceiling, by the way. I'm
Thank
going
you.
to probably put Bill to work trying to figure out how to do that. And we have never met. And I find that interesting that I feel like I know people. When I went to FlipCon, I told Chris, I said, it was like seeing avatars come to life because I've seen all of these people on our YouTube calls in the morning and on YouTube channels, and all of a sudden they're walking around. So it was like seeing avatars come to life.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, there's so and so. There's so and so. They're
Yeah.
really people. They're not just little figures in the
And
in
you feel like you know them.
you do. You learn so much about people, and that's what I like about reselling. It's interesting because there's some people that are reselling and working their career jobs right side by side. Okay. And I think I don't know about you, but if I had discovered this like 10 years ago, I would have been just kicking some butt, just working my job. And because I have a job where I'm on the road all the time, so I could be buying things for my business and, sourcing all over the place. But being the age that I am, I can't do it side by side anymore. And I think a lot of us people who are older, I mean, we kind of get forgotten that, we could still do this, and we could do it
I think
very, very
we
well.
become to some degree invisible, you
Yes.
know, and I think you and I had spoken about this. I think there are probably more of us around than talk about it, because I know with my friends, if I tell them I'm selling on eBay, they're absolutely fascinated, and that's all we talk about. But they always, in the back of their mind, and finally they say is, why are you doing this? Why aren't you relaxing? And I don't know, to me, relaxing too much, isn't that when you take the dirt nap and you don't
Yeah.
get up? So
Well
so I
said.
don't want to relax so much that anybody mistakes my inactivity for lack of life or enthusiasm.
Yes, absolutely. And we all need something to look forward to. Okay. And I don't know about you, but I kind of like the thrill of the hunt, being out there and discovering things, and even things like vintage pieces that are older. It's like it just takes you back in time, and
Sure
not
does.
not that, that's all I do is, look for vintage pieces, but when you come across it, it has good memories,
It
so
certainly does. It's like smells evoke certain things, and like the feel of a wooden spoon takes me back to, cooking in my grandmother's kitchen. I still have my great grandmother's iron cookware, and I just like the idea of things that have remained useful beyond their original owner's usefulness in life, and in fact, life itself.
when I first started reselling, I was tending to buying things that I liked myself. And to a
Yeah.
degree, I think I do that. I think everybody does that. You have to have a niche that you're interested in order to advance in this. So it's kind of like, okay, how much am I going to keep and how much am I going to sell? I got to let this stuff go.
I
It's
had
getting
I
a little crazy here.
when I niche down, and my partner on the YouTube channel, Thomas and Sally's World, is a 33-year-old guy named Thomas, who is extremely successful and has a weirdly amazing Rolodex of brands. And so he began getting me to curate my sales things in terms of a higher average sales price. He always jokes that my niche was Gap jeans that I sell for $12, including shipping. Well, it really wasn't that funny because that was kind of it, because they were easy to find. He has pressed me into expanding my brand knowledge, particularly in sweaters and jackets, and beginning to understand how to tell fakes from real. I mean, it's so deep to go into it, but that's the part about niching down that is valuable, is that you begin to be able to curate better items. If you don't niche down and don't get good at anything, I wound up buying things that I liked, and I found out that what I like is not necessarily the best item to sell.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's an education, that's for sure, and it's an ongoing education, because when you think you know everything there is to know about something, then something comes up, or you meet somebody, or just some of the people in our group that are experts at what they do. It blows my mind at how much I don't know
And
about.
doesn't it amaze you that they are so willing to help? Eduardo, for example, does toys.
Mhm.
And I have a bunch of particular things from my nephew, who is now 57, but when he was, 14, he was collecting these things. Eduardo has been extremely helpful in pointing me in directions on how to find out what they are. Isaiah has been more than helpful. Landon in our group has helped me. Thomas always, at any time I can send him a picture. I sent him a picture of a North Face vest, and I said, I can't find anything like this. And he, helped me out with those kinds of things. So everybody and Jack with the games, we had him on our channel, and
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
the depth of his knowledge. For one thing, taught me I don't want to collect video games because these guys know a lot more than I do about them. But the willingness of people to share the information in the group, and even starting the YouTube channel, Nancy, I don't know if I could have started had I not known that I had a couple thousand people literally who had my back. It was friendly fire.
Mhm.
They're not going to try to make you fail. They're going to try to make you
Yes.
succeed.
Yes. And I guess that's the one thing, I'm really good with people one-on-one. Speaking of the YouTube channel, I'm really good one-on-one. When I know that there's an audience of possibly a cajillion people that could be watching me, I freeze up. I tend to, I'll remember this, and I'm like, oh my God, who's
What
going
did
to
I
be
just
watching
say?
this? And, you know, I don't know why that bothers me, but it's just something that I have to get over. And that's why I thought I'd start the channel, because I do have a message. I have a message for people. I'm passionate about people who are my age, because
And older
and
and older.
older and older. Yes, thank you. And people have asked me before, well, there's so many people who are retired, who are reselling, and they're not 55. Why don't you include them? And, it's not that I'm discounting them at all. It's just that I think once you get past a certain age, such as 55, things start to change. I mean, they change in ways that, people 55 and younger don't experience. And I think sometimes we're, like you said, we're invisible.
Think of the tools that we need to use. The tools for reselling are heavily involved with computers and understanding algorithms.
Mhm.
And I didn't grow up with that. These 30-year-olds and 20-year-olds have grown up
I know.
understanding, how to do these things, and it's very second nature to them. I'm so glad Thomas called me about starting a channel, because I don't talk to a jillion people. I'm talking just to Thomas. And
Mhm.
right now, I'm talking just to you.
Right.
Anybody watches, fine. If they don't watch, fine. But
True.
you and I are having an awfully nice conversation.
Absolutely. And your channel, you guys play off of each other just so beautifully. I mean, you're opposites. I mean, you are you're opposites, but in a great way. And you just, again, you play off of each other just so well. And it's just so much fun just to tune in and just to see what you're going to be talking about this week.
And it's fun to do it because again, it's just like having a conversation. And I think one thing that I'm so happy for is that despite the jabbing, and we do a lot of it,
Mhm.
Thomas is incredibly kind to me. And I hope nothing I say is unkind. There's so much unkindness in the world. I just don't want it, don't want to be any part of it. And so we try to look on the positive sides of interviewing people and try to get the best out of someone rather than trying to uncover something that we can exploit, as, you
Mhm.
know, prurient and not a not fun thing.
Mhm.
So we've got 40, I think 42 or 43 videos up now.
Wow. You guys
And
are busy.
well, we started on June 16th. Chris said that they were going to start a channel for people who might do YouTube. So Thomas called and said, I don't know you, but would you kind of want to do a channel? Maybe we could review the morning call. Well, that didn't work out particularly well. And I think Chris, man, this is a big bite he took off of trying to get this YouTube channel up.
Mhm.
Well, we agreed that as of June 16th, we would not miss a day of talking. And so we don't always publish everything that we do, but we haven't missed a day
Oh,
because I think as soon as you take it off of your to-do schedule, then it becomes, pretty soon weeks have passed and you haven't done it. So we've tried to change as we've gone. Recently, we did, let me see, yesterday, we did Reseller Jeopardy. I've never had so much fun in my life. We
that
had
sounds like fun.
people in there, we had categories, and of course, the technological part of it didn't always work out, which was kind of fun too. But it's a chance to express yourself, a chance to have fun. I think at some point you can get monetized, but there's not a lot of money in that unless you're the guy who, you know, raises football fields up 1,000 feet in the air, which we're not. But it's certainly one other thing to keep you interested. I mentioned to you about a poem, and do you mind if I mention it again?
Oh, please share.
Well, I was uh, I was in France and looking at this young boy's old playhouse. He said his grandfather built him, and there was a poem in there, and it was in French, and but it said MacArthur, and he said, "Yes, that's General MacArthur's poem." I said, "Didn't know he wrote poetry." He said, "No, no, he didn't." General MacArthur fell in love with a poem, and it was actually written by Samuel Ullman, and it's called Youth. He liked it so much that poor Samuel Ullman never quite got credit because they always called it MacArthur's poem. He kept it by his desk, and there are just a few lines in it that are kind of my touchstone when I get a little bit lost and thinking about being 75. Let me tell you a couple of them. He starts out saying, "Youth is not a time of life, it's a state of mind." Absolutely agree there. And he says, "Nobody grows old merely by a number of years. We grow old by deserting our ideals." And lastly, "Years may wrinkle the skin, but to give up enthusiasm wrinkles the soul." And, I don't mind going out with wrinkled skin, but I sure don't want a wrinkled soul. And so part of that for me means exploring new options,
Mhm.
trying even if you're going to fail. I'm less afraid of not trying. I'm less afraid of failing than I am of not trying. So for me, YouTube was something I tried, and as you know, you kind of put one foot in it, and it kind of sucks you in. I told you that I had a friend, a kid. I was a foster parent 25 years ago, and Eric is still a good friend of mine. He just turned 40, and he was doing something called eBay about a year ago. And because it was, I love processes. And so I was helping him kind of work through the process of selling. And finally he said, "Sal, you ought to try this." "Well, I don't know, Eric." And he said, "Just find something around the house." So I had bought some kind of a tool from Joanne Fabric that I'd never opened. And so I put it on, went to bed, got up in the morning, and it had sold. And I was forever hooked. because as I told you, I thought, you mean all I have to do is list something and it sells? And those are words I'll probably go to the grave with, because as we know, it takes a lot more.
Oh,
And they
yeah.
also give you a nice boost when you list your first thing. So now I have a store of a little over 1,000 items. I have a pile of things that I may never list because they were part of my I'm an everything seller, which meant I just like to shop. And now I've niched down more into clothes. And thanks to Thomas, I'm upgrading my store items to be a little higher average sale price. But that's how I got into this thing called eBay.
And that's interesting too, because I think many of us start out, and that's the way you should start out, is by being an everything seller if you don't know what you want to sell. I would have never thought that I would sell clothing, but I want daily sales. And Chris Lynn has a technique where he shows us, and so does Tech too, where they get daily sales and they are niching down in their clothing and they show you how to do it. And, but I thought I like the idea of daily sales. I like the idea of being able to get paid every day if you wish. So I thought that was something to look at. And I thought clothing doesn't take as much space as some other things because I was selling crazy things like
Oh, I bought sets of
exercise
dishes.
equipment and
I bought sets of dishes, and there's
oh yeah.
nothing horrible than trying to figure out what if one of the settings of 8 gets broken on the way. So I have some really nice dishes that I probably am never going to sell because the thought of wrapping them up, terrifies me.
Yeah, and yeah, glassware. I have glassware. I still in my basement, I have a card table and 4 chairs, mid-century modern. And it's like, okay, when do I
That'll be handy to ship.
oh, you think? I know. So it's like I look at these things and I'm like, should I just try to sell it and then just be done with it and never go in that direction again? Or, what should I do with it? But that's the crossroads that you come to, when you do decide to niche down. It's like, what do I do with all this other stuff? But
I was trying to think of people near retirement or post-retirement, and if we want, so I want money to travel. My husband and I love to travel. And so I have kind of modest objectives, but I'd like to fund my travel industry. So you think, what can I do? Okay, well, I could go be a greeter at Walmart. Yeah, I could do that. I could, I used to be a barista at Starbucks at one time when I needed insurance. I could do that. But they all involve doing the thing that when you're retired, you shouldn't have to do. And that's getting up, putting on an outfit,
yes.
reporting to someone else,
Mhm.
and staying there, whether you're would like to be somewhere else.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I think this is I think everybody in retirement ought to find something in their house and sell it. See if that ka-ching that you get when you sell something scratches
I love
something.
that sound.
And I thought about, and then I thought, gosh, I wonder if I'd just be biting off more than I could chew. I think if I put an ad in the local paper and said, if you are over 55 and would like to learn to sell on eBay, meet me on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock down at my storage thing and pay me $20. And in 4 hours, I'm going to show you how to get your account. And we're going to list one item that you bring.
That's a great idea.
Well, it is, but then sometimes, well, I used to do a lot with computers. I don't tell anybody I know anything about computers anymore because you get calls in the middle of the night when their mouse doesn't work.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering, it still might be a good idea. And, whether it's a moneymaker, I think it could be a moneymaker. But then I always go back to what Chris and Tech say. Why don't you just list some more stuff with that time you
Right.
retire?
That mantra
Isn't
is
it?
runs through my brain more often than I even care to admit because and actually no, I'm proud to admit it because they're right. When I think about going down some path and I think, okay, how much time is this going to take me? As opposed to just listing something else or two things or five things. You
But
know,
don't you find this can be so all encompassing
it can, oh,
that
and
I mean, it can be a big guilt if you don't, I only list, I'm only listing 5 things a day because I travel a lot and I'm trying to get my average sale price up. And my objective is to get where I list 10, sell 10, and
mhm.
have about 1,000 items in the store. That's what I want.
That's all. I'm listing 8 a day and then I bank 3. And that's what I love about the draft bank is
Oh,
because
I love that.
I put everything in there. I don't know, after a couple of weeks, I list 11 into my draft bank and then I launch 8 usually later on in the day. And, by the end of a couple weeks, I've got, enough for a couple of days where I could, if I needed to take off, and I do take off a lot. And I just had a house full of people here for 5 days, and I had enough to launch every single day.
Well, I'm getting ready to go the end of this month. We just got back from France. We went over for a wedding, and I did not list while I was gone. No, I did list then. It was like 8 days. Then I went to Colorado for 13 days and did not list. And I didn't like the fact that I wasn't selling stuff. So now I'm getting ready to go back to France, to Paris. I'm gonna check out thrift shops in Paris.
Oh, how fun.
Charity shop. They call them charity shops or
Mhm.
flippery
Slippery.
at
I
the
like that.
at the end of this month, just for a week, because I'm lucky enough to have a friend who has an apartment in Paris, and he gave me the key. So we just got some cheap tickets over, and that'll be fun. When I get back from there, then in 3 weeks, we're going to go to Tokyo for, I don't know, like 13 days. So I'm trying to build that draft
Wow.
bank up enough so I can stay there. And, I think, gee, why am I traveling during fourth quarter when it's the best? And I thought, stop it. You're not doing things in order to do eBay. You're doing eBay in order to do things. And I think that's a really easy thing to get flipped.
It is, and it's a great message to give to people because it's not always about the money. I mean, the money is what gets you um, whatever it is that you're
It's
going
the
for.
validation for what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. The trips, the extras, with your family or whatever the case may be. But it shouldn't be if you have other plans like I do, in my, when I retire, because I'm going to be retiring probably next year or sooner, once I get things going where I want them to be. Yeah, I want to travel too, and I want to do, what you're doing.
And try to find, I don't know if they're what the thrift shops are going to be like. I know I tried to thrift in Bordeaux when I was there, and I kept looking for thrift stores. They're called charity shops,
Oh,
not thrift stores. And so I've got my little area all planned out, and in between sightseeing, I've been to Paris before. This time I want to take time and kind of breathe. The first trip it was, all right, we got the Louvre this morning, we got the catacombs this afternoon, and it's like life. I want to make sure I take time to breathe because I want to smell Paris. I want to feel Paris. I don't want to just look at those things that I've seen in books,
sure,
all my.
sure. And, that's just a great example of what you can make your business, you can make it whatever you want it to be,
So let's talk about this. So what are the barriers? Because you and I are kind of, I think, of the like mind that why isn't everybody who's retired and find themselves a little bit lost? What are the barriers? I think the barriers, for one, is knowledge. You know, how do you get started? Well, go watch a YouTube. I'm sorry, that doesn't always work for me. They assume I know stuff I
Same
don't.
here. Yes, that's true. I mean, I really don't. I'm not on YouTube as much as I should be, but maybe I shouldn't be. I don't know. But I think
So
for
how
people,
do they overcome that barrier, Nancy? I think they find a mentor. For me, finding a mentor, and either find a mentor in an individual or find a mentor in a group.
Mhm.
And daily refinement is simply satisfied that for me. There are others, I'm sure. So watch some YouTubes, find someone that you like the way they do their business. Chances are they have a mentorship program. And I think that the one we're in, I think for as little as $4.99 a month, you can watch the videos and that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
that's where it starts. I know. And even their subscription for 34.99 a month, that's still, it pales in comparison to what you get out of this group. It's insane value. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, here's a secret. Join for a month, download all of those helps. And if you really are strapped for cash, they don't care. You're not under a
No.
contract. And by the way, this is not an advertisement for Daily Refinement. It works for us, but something else might work for you also. So if somebody is thinking about it and watching this, for one thing, I'll bet if they put a comment in your video, you could give them a direction.
Absolutely.
If some, and I don't know about you, but we look at every single comment that comes through.
Yeah.
And you will find people, especially our age. I told you earlier, my sister, who's older than I am, I might say, told me one time, Sal, we've got to watch each other's back. We got to have each other's back as we get older. And I said, why? And she said, because our children would eat us. I don't know exactly what that
She's
meant,
right.
but we take care of each other. And I think you will always find someone who has retired or is about to retire who would be happy to give you a leg up if it's something you think might enrich your life. Again, there's no contracts with eBay. Open a store, sell something, close a store,
Yeah.
don't sell anything. I'd rather have tried than not have tried.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. No, same here. I actually, how I got involved, learned about Chris and tech is I had some real issues with organization. Once you start to list things on whatever platform that you've chosen, you have to have some
Way to
organization.
find them. When you sell something, you have to be able to find it.
You have to be able to find it. And I've gotten in big trouble. As a matter of fact, I lost my top seller status with eBay because I couldn't find things, or I would double list it on one platform on eBay and then someplace else. And when I would sell it on one platform, I would forget to take it off the other platform, which is, it's like the kiss of death.
Wow.
So I lost, I was down to, actually I almost was at below standard. I was teetering. And then I found Chris and I started watching his YouTube channels. I say that I don't watch YouTube channels, but I watched Chris and he taught me so much about inventory. I thought, I just need to jump right into this.
And it's not that hard if you just start out that way. But I did the same thing. I'd say, my gosh, Bill, we sold the blender. Where did you put it? What do you mean, where did I put it? Where did you put it? It says shelf.
Or
Well,
which blender?
yeah, which blender? So anyway, we all learned. I hope that your channel, I think it's a great thing. I hope it does encourage people who, I see them sometimes. They're wandering aimlessly through a store and they look a little lost and they look a little bored. And I'm thinking, find something you're passionate about, and you don't have to stick with it. I might be passionate about painting one week and gardening another. Who cares? Just, keep something in your mind other than the obsession with you can't do anything.
Have something to look forward to when you wake up every day. I mean, that's so important, no matter what it is.
I had to silence my phone at night because I would get so excited when I'd hear ka-ching, which meant somebody had bought something. Yeah, that
I
I
had a
had.
house full of people for 5 days. My husband turned 60 and I had a party for him, and that meant having a lot of people from out of town. But long story short, my phone, I left it on purpose because I love to hear that. And I had friends and family going, why does your phone ka-ching every once in a while? So it was just like, well,
Because I'm making money.
validation for me that
Yeah,
it's
I'm
working.
making money.
I'm making money. What are you doing? No, but anyway, so we're gonna wrap it up. And I just want to mention that if you have any questions for Sally or I, leave them down in the comments. And I'm also going to leave Sally's link for Thomas and Sally's YouTube channel. You definitely got to check that out. Great entertainment, good information. And I just got one more thing to ask you, Sally. Where do you guys find the ideas to have material every single day? I mean, Jeopardy, who would have thought of that? Resellers Jeopardy. I love that.
We well, this morning we did not record today. Today was a work day. And we sat down and had 5 ideas for things that we were going to do. And it's lovely to have someone, for example, I thought of an idea and it was so impractical, but it didn't sound impractical until I said it. And he said, well, how are you going to do that? Yeah, you're right. So brainstorming coming up, and the key is it must have a good takeaway, because no matter how nice you think Thomas is or how much fun it is to watch us, there better be some meat in the sandwich.
Absolutely. Yes.
So we have some things coming up. We're going to have a challenge for some people that you might know to see how good they really are. We have some interviews coming up. I just this morning put out 40 pairs of jeans, and we're going, possibly tomorrow, have someone who will be able to talk about not only did I make good buys, but I like to get into things like what makes this pair of the same brand jeans more valuable than this pair? When is it worth my time to put the button back on, and when is it not? What is it? Here's what I don't get. What's the difference between old worn out jeans and distressed?
Right.
They all have holes in
Good
them.
point.
So that's how we do it. We just brainstorm, we plan ahead. We never turn on the record button until we have a pretty good idea of what we're going to try to accomplish.
Okay. Good. Good, because
Thank
you're
you so
just
much.
it's so interesting. You've always got something every single episode, and I just kind of wondered how you did that. So,
Well, that's it. As long as it works, it works. I
right.
have enjoyed this thoroughly. I hope lots
Thank
of
you,
people
Sally.
are inspired through your channel to start eBay. What have you got to lose?
That's right. And I'm just getting started myself. Sometimes you just gotta throw things against the wall and see what sticks, which is I'm not really doing that with this channel, but that's what I've done in the past. And I realize, I've got to rein myself in life, and I've got to organize myself and organize my information. But I really think that you just got to start someplace sometimes.
And
And
realize you've got more friends than you think you do,
that's
and
right.
we've all got your back.
Absolutely. So if you've got some questions, leave them in the chat here. Smash the like button. I always wanted to say that. I
You do it. Thomas does it every time. Smash the
smash
like
that
button,
like button.
ring the bell,
Yeah, ring the
give
bell
us a thumbs up.
if you like what you're listening to, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you, Sally, and
You're welcome.
talk soon.
All right.